There is a type of person who sees everything, but says very little. They notice patterns before others do. They understand people without being told. They can predict outcomes, almost like intuition is their second language. But strangely, they often don't show how smart they really are. You might have met them. Or maybe, this is you. They stay quiet when they could speak. They hold back when they could lead. They downplay ideas that could change everything. Why? Why do INFJs, one of the rarest personality types, hide their full intelligence? In this video, we explore 12 calm, deep, and often overlooked reasons. And by the end, you may never see silence the same way again. 1. They think before they speak. INFJs process deeply. Their mind does not move fast on the surface. It moves slowly, but far beneath. Each thought is examined. Each word is weighed. They don't rush to answer. They don't interrupt silence. And they are not uncomfortable with pauses. Silence, for them, is not empty. It is active. It is where understanding begins. Instead, they observe. They watch how people react. They listen to what is said, and what is not said. They gather emotional signals. A slight change in tone. A pause before a sentence. A forced smile. They notice it all. They read between the lines. Not just the meaning of words, but the intention behind them. They analyze context, tone, and intention. This takes time. So while others speak quickly, INFJs are still forming a complete picture. They are connecting pieces, linking past experiences, comparing patterns, predicting outcomes. So from the outside, it may look like hesitation, like they are unsure. But they are not unsure. They are precise. It's not hesitation. It's depth. By the time they speak, they have already explored multiple paths. What this person means. What they might feel next. What could happen if certain words are said. They have already considered 5 different outcomes. Sometimes more. But here is the quiet cost. Conversations move quickly. Moments pass. Opportunities to speak disappear. And when they are finally ready, the topic has changed. The energy has shifted. So they stay quiet. Not because they have nothing to say, but because their mind arrived just a little later than the moment allowed. And so, their intelligence stays hidden. Not absent, just unseen. And often, deeply underestimated. 2. They fear being misunderstood. INFJs don't just want to be heard. They want to be understood, fully. Not partially, not roughly, but clearly and deeply. And that level of understanding is rare. They think in layers. One idea leads to another. One insight connects to something deeper. Their thoughts are not simple lines. They are networks. They speak in meaning, not just facts, but emotions, context, and intention. They connect ideas in ways that are not always easy to explain. Sometimes, even they struggle to translate it, because what they feel is more complex than words can hold. So they simplify. They shorten their thoughts. They remove depth. Or, they stay quiet, because explaining everything would take time. A lot of time. And conversations are not always patient. And worse, it might still be misunderstood. Someone might take it the wrong way, or reduce it to something shallow, or dismiss it completely. That feels frustrating. Not because they need validation, but because meaning matters to them. So instead of risking confusion, they choose silence. It feels safer, more controlled, more peaceful. They would rather say nothing than be misunderstood. Not because they lack intelligence, but because they value clarity more than attention. They don't want noise. They want connection. And if that connection is not possible, they simply step back. Quietly. 3. They value depth over attention. In a world that rewards loud voices, INFJs choose quiet insight. They are not drawn to noise. They are drawn to meaning. They don't chase the spotlight. Attention feels empty if it has no depth. They don't need to prove they are smart, because intelligence, to them, is not performance. It is understanding. They care more about meaning than recognition. They would rather have one deep conversation than 100 shallow ones. More about truth than validation. Truth feels real. Validation feels temporary. So when conversations become surface level, something shifts inside them. They disengage. Not physically, but mentally. They may still nod. They may still listen. But their mind moves elsewhere. Into observation. Into reflection. They watch patterns instead. How people speak. What they avoid. What they repeat. And in that quiet observation, their intelligence grows unseen. They are learning. Even in silence. Expanding understanding. Without needing to speak. And because they don't display it, others may not notice. But the depth is there. Always. Calm. Steady. And quietly powerful. 4. They are highly selective with their energy. INFJs know something many people don't. Not every moment deserves your full mind. Not every conversation deserves your full depth. And not every person is ready to understand you. So they choose carefully. They protect their mental energy. Not out of selfishness, but out of awareness. They don't debate for ego. Winning arguments does not interest them. They don't argue for attention. Being seen as right feels unnecessary. They don't explain things to people who won't listen. Because effort without openness leads nowhere. So they hold back. They pause before engaging. They ask themselves quietly, is this worth it? Will this lead to something meaningful? Will this person truly hear me? And if the answer is no, they step back. Not because they have nothing to say, but because they choose where their intelligence goes. They invest it wisely, like a limited resource. And most environments don't make the list. Not because those environments are bad, but because they are not aligned. So they wait for the right moment, the right person, the right space. And until then, their intelligence remains in the background, present, but reserved. 5. They overanalyze social dynamics. INFJs don't just listen to words. They study people. Constantly. Quietly. Almost automatically. They notice emotional undercurrents. Who feels insecure? Who wants control? Who seeks validation? Who is truly open? They see the hidden layers of interaction. The subtle power shifts. The unspoken tensions. They read the room. And they adjust. Sometimes without even realizing it. They change tone. They soften ideas. They hold back certain thoughts. Not because they are unsure, but because they are aware. Sometimes, they dim their intelligence to make others comfortable. They simplify what they say. They avoid sounding too certain. They step away from complex insights. Not out of weakness, but out of emotional intelligence. They understand something important. Not everyone feels safe around strong insight. Some feel challenged. Some feel exposed. Some feel intimidated. And INFJs sense this quickly. So they soften it. They filter it. They choose words carefully. They leave parts unsaid. They hide it, just enough to keep harmony. Because harmony matters to them. Connection matters. And if showing their full intelligence risks breaking that, they will quietly reduce it. Not forever. Just enough, for the moment. And once again, their true depth remains unseen. But never gone. 6. They struggle with perfectionism. Sentence length is short. Calm. Spaced. Easy to follow. INFJs don't like being kind of right. That feeling is uncomfortable for them. They don't want to speak halfway. They don't want to offer something unfinished. They want precision. Not just correct, but deeply correct. They want their words to match their thoughts. And their thoughts are complex. Layered. Carefully built. Quietly refined over time. So before they speak, they check everything. Is this accurate? Is this fair? Is this meaningful? They run these questions internally. Again and again. And while this is happening, the conversation moves on. People jump topics. Moments pass. And the INFJ pauses. Still thinking. Still adjusting the idea. Still searching for the most complete version of truth. Because for them, words matter. Once spoken, they cannot be taken back easily. So they wait. Not out of fear, but out of care. Care for clarity. Care for impact. Care for the people listening. But perfection has a cost. It slows them down. And the world moves fast. Fast opinions. Fast reactions. Fast conclusions. INFJs don't fit that rhythm. They move differently. Slower. Deeper. More intentional. So when their idea is not ready, they choose silence. Even if the idea is brilliant. Even if it could change the direction of the conversation. They hold it back. Because almost right is not enough. And so, their intelligence waits. Quietly. Patiently. Often, unseen. But never absent. Just, carefully protected. 7. They trust intuition more than explanation. Sentence length stays short. Soft. Reflective. INFJs often just know things. There is no long process. No visible steps. Just, knowing. They can sense outcomes. Before they happen. They can feel shifts. Even in silence. They can predict behavior. Without needing proof. It comes naturally. Like a quiet signal inside them. Subtle. But strong. And most of the time. They are right. But here is where it becomes difficult. They don't always know how they know. There is no clear path to explain. No simple formula. It is not step 1, step 2, step 3. It is something deeper. A pattern recognized. A feeling understood. A connection made, instantly. This is intuition. And intuition does not speak in logic. It speaks in impressions. In quiet certainty. In inner clarity that has no obvious source. So when someone asks, "How do you know that?" the INFJ pauses. Not because they doubt themselves, but because translating that knowing into words feels incomplete, feels limiting, like trying to explain a feeling using only facts. Something gets lost, something important. So they hesitate. They search for words, but the words feel smaller than the truth they are trying to express. So sometimes, they stop trying. They nod. They stay quiet. Even when they see the outcome clearly. Even when they understand what others don't. Because explaining intuition feels like reducing it. And they don't want to reduce something that feels whole inside them. So they remain silent. Not because they lack intelligence. But because their intelligence lies beyond easy explanation. 8. They avoid conflict. INFJs don't enjoy unnecessary tension. They don't argue to win. They don't correct people just to prove a point. So even when they see flaws in logic, they let it go. Even when they know the better solution, they stay quiet. Because sometimes, peace matters more than being right. And in choosing peace, their intelligence remains hidden. 9. They feel like outsiders. Many INFJs grow up feeling different. Not better. Just different. They think deeply when others think simply. They feel deeply when others brush things off. So over time, they learn to adapt. To blend in. To not stand out too much. They learn to hide parts of themselves, including their intelligence. Because standing out once felt unsafe. 10. They are always learning internally. INFJs live in their inner world. They reflect constantly. They replay conversations. They analyze decisions. They search for meaning in everything. So even when they appear quiet, their mind is active. Very active. They are learning, growing, refining ideas. But because this process is internal, no one sees it. And so, their intelligence goes unnoticed. 11. They prefer one-on-one depth. INFJs don't thrive in group noise. They thrive in deep conversations. One-on-one. Where ideas can unfold slowly. Where meaning can breathe. In groups, they often step back. They listen more than they speak. So their intelligence doesn't always show. But put them in a quiet, meaningful conversation. And everything changes. Their insight becomes clear. Their depth becomes visible. Their intelligence finally speaks. 12. They don't need to prove anything. At their core, INFJs are not driven by ego. They don't need to show how smart they are. They don't need applause. They don't need validation. They care about truth, growth, meaning. So if a moment doesn't require their full intelligence, they won't use it. Simple as that. Because for them, intelligence is not something to display. It's something to use, wisely. So the next time you meet someone quiet, someone observant, someone who speaks only when it matters, pause. Look closer. Because intelligence doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes, it sits quietly, watching, understanding, waiting. And if you are an INFJ, know this. Your silence is not emptiness. It is depth. Your restraint is not weakness. It is awareness. And your intelligence, even when unseen, is still powerful. You don't need to prove it. You just need to trust it. And when the right moment comes, it will speak, calmly, clearly, and it will be heard. If this resonated with you, you're not alone. And maybe, you were never meant to be loud. Just understood. Stay thoughtful. Stay aware. Stay you.